All right, good evening, everyone. This will begin the public hearing for the June 17th, 2021 zoning board hearing. During the hearing, applicants will present their applications, and then they will ask the applicant any questions that they have, and then we'll read any additional public comment into the record, anything that came in during the last.
You're going in and out again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, let's try that again. So we'll begin the public hearing portion. Before I turn it over to the chair, I just want to say one additional thing that he will also say. Please note that within approximately 2 weeks from tonight, whether you are approved or denied or whatever the decision is, you will receive a notice of decision in the mail outlining how the board arrived at their decision based on that set of standards. So if you are approved, you still need to wait for that. Or denied, you will also receive a decision, of course. And everyone is welcome to stay on the call and listen to the board deliberate after the call as well, if they would like. So thank you for that, and I will turn it over to the chair.
Hey, thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. Let's get this going tonight. So good evening, everyone. As you know, for over a year, we've been conducting our meetings, our zoning board meetings virtually as authorized by the state of New York's disaster emergency declaration and executive orders, the local emergency orders issued by the mayor of the city of Rochester, and amendments to the zoning board rules and procedures. Primarily, these orders and amendments waive the requirements for in-person attendance at this hearing and permit us to hold the hearing by teleconference, allow applicant presentations by teleconference, and allow public comments to be submitted by email, by hard copy document mailed to the zoning office, or deposited in the secure Dropbox located in the link entrance or in the permit office of City Hall, or by call-in to the hearing. Written public comments and requests to schedule the call-in comments were all required to be submitted by 5 p.m. yesterday. Although the conduct of this hearing has been altered, many things remain the same. All the normal notifications for this hearing, including mail notice, publication, and posting of notices, were followed. All the normal timeframes for applicant presentations and public comments remain the same. The normal staff report was prepared and posted on the city's website. And most importantly, this board will hear, review, and make decisions about all the applications with the same diligence and using the same standards as required by the zoning code. Before we begin, I would like to explain the ground rules of the hearing. When a case is called, the applicant will have 15 minutes to present their case to the board. The applications and full staff reports were all posted on the city's website at least a week ago and were available for the public to review. As the application is being presented, staff will identify and show the pages of the application that the applicant is addressing. Following our normal procedure, the board members may ask the applicant questions about their application. After the applicant's presentation is completed, any scheduled call-in comments will be heard and staff will read into the record any written comments that were submitted after the staff report was posted on the city's website. Comments will be limited to 10 minutes if they're submitted by a neighborhood association and 3 minutes for individuals, and the reading of submitted comments will be summarized to fit within those timeframes. If multiple written submissions repeat the same comments, staff will summarize those comments. After the call-in comments have been heard and written comments have been read, the applicant will have 5 minutes to provide rebuttal testimony. At the conclusion of the applicant's rebuttal, the case will be closed. After completing all of the hearings on the agenda tonight, the board may take a short break, which will be announced. After the break, the board will commence deliberations and voting on all applications, except any application that has been adjourned to another meeting. Please note that if your case is approved today, as Matt said, a written decision will be mailed to you within 15 business days. The decision will inform you of the next steps to complete in the approval process. So before we get started with the first case, please note that all of us you see here on your Zoom screens, we're all volunteers. So I would like everyone to go around and introduce themselves, to confirm their presence of roll call, and to establish a quorum for this hearing, and to mention their area of expertise. And they'll also mention what section of the city they live in. So we'll start with Jim. Go right ahead, Jim.
Good evening. My name is Jim Best. I live in the northwest quadrant of the city. I've been a telephone engineer for just under 50 years. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Matt?
Hi, my name is Matt Bain. I live in the Northwest, and I'm computer science information systems.
Hey, thanks, Matt. David.
My name is David Carr. I live in the Northeast. I'm a consultant and developer.
Thanks, David. Lorraine?
Good evening. I live in the East District and I'm in marketing and communications.
Thank you. Cora?
I'm Cora Murphy. I'm in the Northwest section of the city, and I'm a licensed real estate broker.
And Holly?
I am Holly Wheeler. I live in the Southeast quadrant, and my current work and experience is in higher education.
Thanks, Holly. And I'm Tyrese Bryant. I work in real estate and land use development, and I've got a background in urban planning, and I live in the Southwest section of the city. Okay. Matt, we can get going with the first case.
Yes, so case number 1 was removed from the agenda, as you all know. So we will begin with case number 2, which is an area variance request, file VO 5420-21. The address is 805-807 Bay Street, located in the R1 low density residential district. The applicant is the property owner, Gene Mostowski, and the purpose is to enclose an existing open front porch on the front of a two-family dwelling, not meeting the residential building standards for.
It's going again, Matt.
Yeah, at this point, I don't think there's anything we're gonna be able to do about it tonight. So listen closely, folks.
Gene is here with us tonight. Gene, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay. Hello.
Hi, Gene. How are you?
Hello. Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Let me swear you in. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. Before we get started with your 15 minutes, there was some concern. Did you post the notice 20 days before the hearing at your property?
Yes.
Where was it posted?
At the porch window downstairs. I guess, I don't know, the window in the front of the house and the porch.
Okay. 15 minutes. Go right ahead. Why don't you go ahead and go through your case?
Yes. Good evening, board. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my request, which I would like to enclose my front porch. I find that it being open is a bit too open. It used to be closed in my whole lifetime. I've lived in this house my entire life. It has been closed in up until about 10 years ago, where I had a lead grant, and the lead grant was supposed to make the house safe for renting to tenants or other people. So the porch was deemed a hazard. So it was removed, the lead was removed, the whole porch was removed actually, and it was just left wide open. And since, it's been a great experience, but as of late, I've had some theft and some undesirable behaviors on my porch. I don't know of all of them. I just have a few of them on camera. And I've had FedEx packages was just stolen off my porch. The kids in the neighborhood knock on the door and run away. I'm not really sure if that's the type of stuff I want to go down on my front porch. Seeing as how it wasn't closed before the grants, I'd just like to see if that'd be a possibility again. And I didn't know that this was a whole process, but I am willing to go through this process and abide by the standards of the city to build something similar to what was already there.
Okay, Gene, thanks so much. So I'm going to go through, some of the board members may have some questions for you. As you know, hopefully you've done a little bit of homework on the area variance in the process a bit. So they'll go through some of those questions that will primarily focus on granting or not granting the area variance, okay?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll start with Jim. He's not a hard questioner. No, I'm joking. Go ahead, Jim.
Okay, you're probably not aware of this, but one of our city staff one of the city staff members did find out from using something called the sandboard maps, which are like I won't go into a lot of detail, but when the house was built, the porch was open and somehow it was closed and closed for many years, as you said yourself. With the lead abatement program, it was opened up again, and now you want to close it. Of course, things have changed an awful lot in the last few years, especially with COVID in the last couple of years. Much more packages are being delivered. By the way, I'm one of the members that did not see a sign on the porch, but there's a lot of stuff you had on the porch, and maybe it was simply blocked out by the clothes that were hanging up there and things of that nature. Had these thefts been going on like every couple of months or so?
I would not know because I hadn't had cameras until recently, but I could tell you there was 3 of them in 30 days.
That's quite a bit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Jim. Now, Gene, now we're going to Matt next. Now, he's a tough question, guys. So
Yes.
So Matt, go right ahead.
Actually, I have no questions.
Oh, he's taking it easy tonight. Hey, thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
David, go right ahead. You with me, Mr. Carr? You're muted. Any questions?
Gene, I'm sorry. Do you happen to have any drawings to show what the porch will look like in the future if we decide to grant you this proposal?
Sure. Well, Mr. Carr, I don't really have an idea of what it would look like. I just know the photo that's on the share screen right now is an idea. That's exactly what it looked like. They had several windows up front. There's also some very large bushes. So the bushes are they hide pretty much most of the porch anyway. But there were some windows that could be opened or closed. And then there was like storm doors on either side. So 807 had an entry door and 805 had an entry door. Just was more secure and safe. You could take your shoes off before you walk right into the house. So basic idea would be to have some windows and some doors and maybe like a mail slot so my mail is safe. Nothing extravagant for sure.
Okay, that was my major concern.
Thanks.
I'm gonna just jump in here. I don't know if you guys can hear me, hopefully. So basically, if you look at the 2 photos I'm showing, the existing conditions with it being open and the closed, essentially what it appears happened is a header was put in across the top in between each of the 2 sides. Wrong way. And the siding was covered that. This siding just obviously covered the post, so it was full glass, maybe some screens in with it, and then doors on either side. So it was basically the complete opening, and then of course the it looks like siding was where the existing knee rail is.
Thanks, Matt, for the clarification. Lorraine?
Hi, Jean. Say, I was wondering, what are these pictures of? Is this the previous porch?
Okay.
With the screen? enclosed?
That I couldn't tell you because I was probably one of those little children in the photo, but it looks like maybe that was something first. Like that was an enclosure of screens. Looks like 1984 or something. And then it got enclosed completely. I don't know. That must have been something first though, like an attempt to enclose it.
Oh, okay. So is that an idea you've maybe thought about, is screens like that, or?
Yes, I have thought of like something else that doesn't require quite a permit, but like, I don't understand what the word like, it would have to be temporary. So like, I don't know what that means. Yeah, I just don't know the difference.
So a couple things here for the board members' benefit too. The code allows people to screen in an open porch that's visible from the right of way, and no variance is required just based on the definition of it. But Jean, I'm hoping you can tell the board a little bit about the conversation we had in terms of alternatives. When we had first spoken, we had discussed alternatives to the variance that would be code compliant, which is one of the standards around maybe doing a garage or a shed, and you had kind of explored those options. So I just wanted you to expand a little bit on that so the board members have it as part of the standards.
So yes, that being, I would like to expand the space that I have and maybe have some sort of enclosure that is possible with the code. I don't have room, like I don't have a huge yard. I don't have a big driveway to put another structure or some sort of a shed. It's not so much my car anyway. It's more like my well-being and my belongings that I'm trying to protect. And also my tenants that have to share the same space with me, the porch. So I just would like to at least get something that would be allowed. And I would go as far as getting a whole variance and a permit to build, just so we could have that structure and be legal and be compliant.
Oh, that's all I had, Therese. I'm done.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Cora?
I do have a couple of questions. I'm actually currently on my front porch and it might be a little lively out here, so I might have to go inside in a second. I just have a couple of questions for, if you can clarify. So and you may not know, but when the lead abatement was done and they demoed the front porch, was it not rebuilt as an enclosed porch for this reason or because of the condition? I'm just looking at this.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thanks for the question. I couldn't tell you, Cora. I don't even think that was discussed. If it was, maybe it was a cost-effective measure. I don't recall them saying, hey, it's going to be wide open from now on. Or if they did, I probably was like, okay, because it's cost-effective. I'm not even sure.
Okay. And then this grant sort of flyer that you included, was this from that original lead abatement or is this something different that you're utilizing for this project?
I believe that was part of the same lead grant project.
Okay, so this is okay, gotcha. And then one last question, the items that have been stolen or that you've had issues with, are these items that you're storing on the porch? Are they packages or is it a combination of both?
It is just a general, like my personal items and packages and stuff that's in lieu of like being transitioned to donate / have a garage sale. So yeah, there's stuff to be stored. It's all types of stuff is out there.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Cora. Holly?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jean, if you're granted the variance tonight, when do you plan to, have you started conversations with a contractor? Have you kind of worked a price and even talked to someone about how you want it to look? How you want the windows to be transparent? I mean, how much transparency you want? Have you kind of engaged that conversation with anybody yet?
Well, there's funny.
Wise?
I don't think, well, it's not really funny, Tyrese. I actually got the contractor first and then we had to stop everything to find out we had to do this process first. So yes, he has quoted a roundabout price. He has got some ideas as to the photograph, how to build that back into that same exact replica of what it used to look like with windows. Yes.
Okay. So just to confirm, what he is quoting is basically going back to what we're seeing in the previous conditions 10 years ago. That is what the plan is.
Ideally, yes. Modified to some different specifications, possibly, but I don't see a need to change anything because I'm just so set in my ways. I would
Yeah.
keep everything the same if I could ever, forever.
Well, I just want to be clear because once we get into deliberations, you won't have an opportunity to speak. So if any
Mhm.
board members, historically, this board has approved some enclosures with conditions, though, with conditions in terms of transparency, ensuring that these enclosures are not just enclosures, but you're able to really see through them with windows. So I just wanted to make sure that you clearly understand that in the process, and that if it is granted, it could be granted, with conditions or without conditions. So just wanted to kind of have you talk about your thoughts if you have engaged the contractor on how you want the enclosed porch to look. So I just wanted to be very, clear with you before we close the case.
Yes, thank you for
Okay.
the forewarning. Yes, I mean, I did have that conversation with several contractors, and then they've stopped me and said, you cannot do that. You have to contact city, and here I am. But I did get a couple of great ideas, some great designs, but they basically are just going off of the photo from that time frame from 10 or 12 years ago.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Gene. We're gonna go in. Matt, was there additional comment that needed to be read, or
No,
no?
just
Nothing?
the comment from the Beechwood Neighborhood Organization in the staff report.
Okay, and that was in the staff report. So Gene, thank you so much for
Okay.
being with us tonight. Best of luck to you.
Okay, thank you for taking the time to hear my case.
All right, we're gonna close case number 2.
All right, in case number 3 is a use variance. It's file number V-055 2021, located at 91 Prince Street in the R2 Medium Density Residential District. The applicant is the property owner, and Scott, I cannot pronounce your last name, so my apologies. And the purpose is to establish the use of the property as a 3-family dwelling, not meeting certain dwelling unit conversion standards. And I will move Scott over here. Bear with me one second, guys. Oops. Oh, there he is. There we go. And Scott, you can go ahead and unmute yourself, and the chair will swear you in.
Hi, Scott. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Well, is it pronounced P? I'm gonna take a crack at it.
Please.
Is it Pizzicini or no?
It is P as knee.
Piazni. Okay.
Yeah, nobody ever gets it right. So thanks for trying.
No problem. Matt went to better schools than I did, so I just thought he would know how to say it. But that I was
I
wrong.
don't think any of that's true, but
So let's get going, Scott. And do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, 15 minutes. Go right ahead.
Hi, guys. So this is the first time I've ever had to do this, so I hope I give all the correct information. Basically, we bought the house back in September of 2020, and I was under the assumption that based on the real estate information that it was approved on a 3-family as a 3-family dwelling, which I soon learned that was the case for the prior owners, which had expired. So here I am trying to apply for the same approval to turn the house into a 3-family instead of a very large 2-family. It has sat vacant since I think 2008 is what I've learned since owning the house. And it's come to the point where, the cost of lumber and labor and finding people to do the work, it would just cost so much to rehab the house and to only turn it into a 2-family. And that's basically what we're trying to do, and bring the house back to its original or bring the house back up to living conditions because it's been vacant for so long and it's been an eyesore to the neighborhood since 2008. So that's the basis of it. I'm not sure what questions you guys might have for me or what other information you might need.
Scott, why don't you, because we get through this with use variances, why don't you walk us through your financials briefly? Kind of give us a high level.
Okay, I don't have, I'm actually on my cell phone because my internet is down at my house. So let me pull up some of the other information. The house is completely gutted down to the studs. There's no electrical, no plumbing. There's no water heater, no furnaces or anything. So it's a bare bones skeleton house. We ended up putting windows in the house. That was one of the city had contacted me shortly after closing, and we spent about $10,000 just to enclose the house and put windows in. I've been trying to get quotes on roofing, and it's just hard to get a contractor over there to quote me with the current price of lumber to do the roof. I imagine that's going to be a $20,000 roof. It's got 2 layers already on it, so it's a full tear off. Just that alone. Let me see if I can pull up my information on the financials as far as what they were going to cost. It was a significant investment of upwards of like $125,000 in materials and labor. Those were rough estimates. I know we already spent probably $2,000 just in cleaning out garbage that was left behind from the prior owners. Sorry, I'm not 100% prepared. I wasn't.
No, you're fine. No, you're fine. We'll just kind of jump to some questions and maybe we'll pull that out of you. I just wanted to give you the opportunity to kind of speak to those things and speak to your hardship as well. So, but we can go through it with questions, but I just like to give the applicant some opportunity to kind of get ahead of what's coming for them. So we'll start with, we're going to go backwards. We're going to start with Holly this time. So Holly, go right ahead.
I have no questions again.
Okay. Cora?
Yeah, I do have just a couple questions. So is it going to be 2 bedrooms in each unit, 3 2-bedroom units?
Yes, that's the plan. One per floor. Each floor would be its own unit.
Got it. And is it already like metered for 3 separate units?
It is not. So it needs full electrical, full water. I'm assuming we'll just do 1 house meter for the water, and electrical and gas would all be metered separately with a common for the house.
Gotcha. Scott, go metal on the roof. If you got to do a new roof anyway.
I would like to. Yeah. Like I said, right now, getting contractors to even give me quotes is a pain. So
yeah, no. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thanks, Cora. Lorraine?
Hi, Scott. Say, I was just wondering here, what does a 3rd floor look like? I mean, from the outside of the house, is it an attic type situation, or because I don't see any numerical.
There should have been pictures included of the 3rd floor.
There's pictures on the screen of the 3rd floor.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yep.
So is it like an attic? It's like an attic space then, kind of, right? Or is it?
It's a very tall 3rd floor. Like you have full 8-foot ceilings. You do have some of the vaults on the sides and gables.
Okay.
But the majority of it is you have more headroom than a typical 3rd floor apartment would have.
Oh, okay. So isn't necessary? Yeah. Okay. It would be if it's 8 feet. So you haven't done anything to it except what is shown as far as just taking things out. You haven't replaced anything yet, correct?
We put windows in to
yeah, outside of the windows. Outside of the windows, nothing?
No, just clean out the debris and garbage that was left in, we were just trying to get it cleaned out and prepped. And in the whole process of applying for this, it's just, we've had some downtime to clean up. That's about it. We put a new door in on the back of the house because people had been breaking in prior to us buying it. So we just really tried to secure the house and get the animals out and keep people out too.
So when we're looking at plumbing on the 3rd floor, how would that be handled? Is there any type of, there's nothing up there for that? Is that right? Is that right?
There was a bathroom. I don't think I'm not sure if I got a picture of it. Actually, in the picture that's currently on the screen, in the very back, there was a bathroom there currently. And if you look on the back of the house where the fire escape leads up to, that leads into a current bathroom. I probably should have gotten better pictures.
I walked
But like-
around and back. I walked around and back, so I saw it.
Okay, so yeah, that's where the bathroom was. There is a plumbing stack that goes right up through there.
Oh, okay.
I was working with my architect. He was gonna redesign and have everything completely new. He was gonna draft up, plumbing plans, electrical, just because it's such a big project that wants to be done right, obviously.
Right. And currently you don't have those type of plans to show us. Is that right?
I do not. I wanted to get approval on the variance before going forward with spending
Oh,
the
sure.
huge
Mhm.
amount of money on the architectural drafting of it.
Yeah, and you can do that as well too, just the drafting. Okay, well, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Lorraine. David?
Hi, I'm not trying to procrastinate anything or be mean, but you're doing a major renovation job. And I think in order for the good questions to be answered, we need to see something. Because the only thing we're seeing here is, and we're not showing the aggression of what happened in a fire case, especially on the third floor. 2 means of regression. We don't know anything about this building. Is there any proof that you can show us of what you're doing? How you have to have 2 means of escape? What's going on with the building? We don't have any.
So David, I'm going to jump in here. This is Matt. So David, one of the things the applicant will have to do is be compliant with the New York State Building Code. He has retained an architect to assist with drawing up code compliant plans for things just like you're discussing. The reason he's here tonight, though, instead of producing full-on plans that come at a cost, and only why the general layout is being proposed, you're looking strictly at not strictly, but mostly at the financials as well as the existing character. So the fire escapes and egress and sprinklers and all that stuff will all be discussed with building code.
Okay.
Which actually leads me to Lorraine had asked questions about the third floor. It's actually not uncommon for some of these larger structures to have original third floors that were built that way, which may have been the case here. The applicant provided testimony that there's a waste stack that goes all the way to the third floor. So it was there at one point, potentially even original. So
We've seen so many third floors. I was just kind of curious as
yeah,
to. the
yeah, some are, some not. This was
Yeah.
already legal at one point though. So he would
True.
have, someone would have already been compliant with the building code. It's just that it's been gutted down to the studs, as you can see from the picture on the screen.
Great.
Which is why. it's-
Okay. Thank you.
David, did you have any questions
that's it.
particularly? Okay. Matt?
I think I already know the answer to this, but I'll ask it anyway. In terms of parking, do you feel that there's enough parking available for adding another unit to the facility or to the building?
Part of my plan, if this gets approved, is I would like to add parking in the rear of the house. Currently, 91 and 93 Prince Street, we own both of the houses, and there is no parking or driveway to get behind 91. So I was going to apply for an easement through my other property to allow to add parking in the rear, since we own both adjoining properties. I understand that that's a concern. There would not be an additional curb cut, so we wouldn't be taking away any street parking. It would just be an easement between the two properties. Yeah, I do plan to add parking, as I know that's an issue in the area, in the neighborhood. Yeah, right on this picture, right behind the White House, you can see the driveway between the two houses.
Yeah, so I thought, I couldn't find the survey in here. Basically, there is a survey for this. So this driveway here actually belongs to the neighboring property. You're looking at the rear of 91 Prince Street here. So the ability to install parking is over here. The applicant owns both properties, so he doesn't actually need to file an easement, because in New York State, you can't file an easement on yourself because it doesn't grant any additional rights, but a parking area can be approved on condition that upon sale of either property, an easement be filed.
Okay. Matt, you all set?
I'm all set.
Jim,
Thank you.
go right ahead, sir.
Okay, based upon what Matt was just talking about, if this is approved and you do put parking in the back, I'm wondering about lot coverage, which is probably not part of this application, but I want you to be aware before you go out there and start putting in a whole bunch of parking spaces, if this gets approved, that you only have a certain amount of coverage that you can pave back there. So that being said, let's talk about the financials just for a moment. I know you bought the house. I know what the prices were. I know what kind of a mortgage you have, but your financials are referring to having to borrow an awful lot of money to get everything up to scale. Well, what kind of a rate of interest are you looking at for that money?
It'll be anywhere from 5 to 10%.
About $200,000?
Yes.
Okay. Give me just one moment here.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, we'll probably go over this in more detail during deliberations, but my figures are a little bit different than yours, but it's always that little, that odd thing here under section C, annual expenses, annual average interest bracket over the next 5 years. And sometimes people put in all 5 years, sometimes people put in the average as it calls for here. So I don't have any other questions.
I'm not sure what I had put down for the average, but I'm assuming the average would be anywhere from 10,000 to 20,000 per year. I would assume that I could get the house rehabbed as soon as possible and then refinance down to a 5% interest rate. The rehab money will probably be private money at around a 10% interest rate until it's occupied, and a bank will refinance me out of that.
Yeah, and you do have a figure marked down here, a little bit fudgy. Not your figure's fudgy, but I mean, it's a little heavy here in the print. On the right-hand side, it says 12K, and that makes sense to me. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's 12. Yeah, it's 12K.
Yes, it is. Sorry, my handwriting was a little scribbly.
No, it's fine. It's fine. You kind of wrote that out about having that 10% at 200K for about a year and a half, and then refinancing at 5%. You put that down under there. I don't have any questions for you at the time. We'll obviously go through the financials in a bit more detail. We'll also look at what you wrote for your hardship during the deliberation process. Did you want to speak to that a bit more, or are you all set, Scott?
As far as the hardship, if this doesn't get approved, I will probably end up looking to just sell the house. I don't see it being feasibly or financially responsible to be as only a 2-family. Just the layout of the house, it would make a very large second and third floor unit, which would be approximately 6 bedrooms. It just, for the amount of money having to be put into the house, I don't see the return on it being worth it as under that current setup that it's set as. So I think that's my plan. If I can't, even if I get this approved and then I don't get the building permits approved, I know that's another hassle, but if that all doesn't get granted, then yeah, I might just end up having to sell the property, and maybe somebody else with more time and money than me can figure out what to do with it.
How many properties do you currently own in the city, Scott?
In the city, 5.
Okay. Including 91 and 93?
Yes.
Okay. Did anybody have any additional questions for Scott before we close the case on the board? Hearing none, I don't think there was any additional feedback. So Scott, thanks for being with us, man, and best of luck to you.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate the time.
Okay, we're going to close case number 3.
All right, and we will get started with case number 4, which is an area variance request at 235 Alexander Street. The file number is V056-2021. And the zoning district is R3 High Density Residential District, and it's in an overlay boutique district. The applicant is the business owner, Bradford Strine, and the purpose is to change use of the rear carriage house to a bar and restaurant, including a first floor building addition, not meeting certain lot area and yard requirements. And we have both Bradford and his design professional, Adam, on the call.
Hi, Bradford. Hi, Adam. How are you guys?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Who am I? Oh, is this Adam?
Yeah, this is Adam.
Okay. Is Bradford joining us or are you leading off?
I'm here as well, but Adam's going to lead off.
Okay. Quick question for you, Bradford, before we start, though. There was some concern about the posting of the sign. Do you believe that your posting of your zoning board hearing that was supposed to be posted 20 days before the hearing was posted in a location that could be viewed from the right of way?
From the right of way, what do you mean by the right of way?
Basically, the sign has to be able to, you have to be able to view the sign from the right of way. There was concern from board members and from the public that the sign you posted for the hearing was not posted for the public to see. So basically, you have to go, basically, there's notices that have to be given to the public for public hearings.
Yes.
So yours was concerned. So I just needed to get on the record. Do you believe that the sign was posted in a location that could be viewed by the public in the public right of way?
I felt that it was. It can be seen from the street.
Okay. Thanks so much. Let me swear both of you in and we'll get started. I should have asked you that. I should have swore you in, but no, go ahead. We'll believe you. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, go right ahead, Adam. Kick us off. You guys got 15 minutes to present your case.
Okay. So this building is an existing carriage house in the rear of the property. And we already went through the city planning commission for the special permit application, and that part's been approved. So now we're on to the zoning board of appeals for specifically 3 different variances. So part of this project is we want to add an addition onto the back. Well, let me say that basically what this project is turning this carriage house into a restaurant. And so part of the project is to add a 250 square foot addition onto the back that is going to be the kitchen and a walk-in cooler. And we are proposing that that'll be a 1-story structure, and we're proposing that on top of that will be outdoor seating. So the 3 variances that we were notified about after a preliminary site plan finding letter that we got was, the first variance was max lot coverage. So the required by code is 50%, and the existing lot coverage is 87%.
Adam, I'm just going to jump in. There's no lot coverage variance. That was later revised. That was an
Really?
error. Yeah,
Okay.
it's just the 2 on the front of the staff report, 120-28C and the other one C. There's no lot coverage requirement.
All right, cool. So the other 2 was the setbacks. So the first setback was the minimum side yard setback, which in the code it's required to be 10 feet, and we are proposing 2 feet. So the existing setback of the building is 2 feet, and we are basically.
Adam, 1 second, Matt. While he's discussing that, can you mind bringing up a plan so we can see exactly?
Yeah.
Where
Yeah, the drawing that he's talking about.
Yep, that'll be helpful for everybody. Where we know where we're talking about. So I hate to interrupt you. Go ahead, Adam. Go ahead.
So basically the addition is going to extend straight back from the existing building. So that 2-foot setback isn't going to change on the side yard. It's still going to be 2 feet. The other setback is is the rear yard setback, which is really the one that's going to be affected because with the addition extending, it is extending back. So the code says it should be 20 feet. I believe the existing setback is about 13'6". And once we add this addition onto the building, the setback's only going to be about 4'4". The property that is behind this property is a parking lot. And I guess the only other thing I could say about this area where we're going to build the addition is it's basically currently it's kind of this area that is overgrown. It collects garbage. It's not really used for anything. And we just wanted to repurpose it as the kitchen for the restaurant project.
That's it?
That's basically it.
Okay. All right. Appreciate it. Did you want to speak to any of the oh my God, I'm going blank here. Any of the your statement of difficulty? Did you want to talk about that a bit more before board members ask questions? Did you want to go through the standards and kind of speak to those? I mean, it's fine you wrote in there. I mean, you don't have to read them, but we've read them and reviewed them. I don't know if you wanted to add anything additional.
Well, I guess the one thing I would add was, being that this property is in the middle of the city of Rochester, I mean, when it comes to the health and safety and welfare of the neighborhood or the environment, this addition it has really no effect on it. And I think we did get from the manager of zoning a negative declaration, which indicates that the purpose of action is one that will not have a significant impact on the environment.
Okay. All right, let's get through some questions and then we'll get you guys out of here. So let's start with Lorene this time. Go right ahead, Lorene.
So I guess my question is, why is the setback in each direction so much off from what it should be according to the city code?
So this building was actually constructed back in 1860. So I'm guessing that a lot has changed over the past 100 and some odd years when it comes to the zoning.
Adam, if I can interject, the rear lot of behind the building used to be owned. It used to be part of the parcel, and it was sold off, I think, in the 60s or the 70s to the adjacent property. So it used to be there used to be the parking lot behind it used to be part of that, I think, that property. So when it was sold, I don't know if there wasn't any conditions or anything like that that would have caused them to sell a certain portion distance from the carriage house. I don't know if that helps at all. But
Not really, because these codes have been around for a while.
I'm going to interject here for some context. So in answer to your question about the setbacks, so the structure was not built as a commercial property. It's a detached accessory structure. So generally speaking, So generally speaking, detached accessory structures are much closer to the lot line than the principal structure that's on the front of the lot. So that's the reason for the setbacks being where they are. Now, the thing about this one
why is it in violation of the code then?
Well, it's not in violation of the code if it's a detached accessory structure, but because it's being converted to a commercial use, which is like a second, right? Well, the proposal is, so it's like having a second principal structure. It's no longer an accessory structure. So that means the setbacks from the property lines are different. The other thing with this one is that it's in a residential district, but it's also in an overlay boutique district. So for some context about what that means, the overlay boutique districts are throughout the city. There are small areas which are mostly residential in nature. But in 2003, when the city did its zoning code, they recognized that some of these residential districts had some unique circumstances with them, with some commercial uses mixed in, but small scale commercial uses, not 4,000 or 6,000 square foot commercial uses. So the intent of the overlay boutique district is to provide a balance of both residential as well as small scale commercial structures. So in a case like this, it's residential is the underlying district to regulate, quality of life issues that may come up. But the code does allow for the conversions of these things in small scale, which is why they're here today. So that's for some context. The intent of the overlay boutique district is to provide, within reason, these mixed districts that have both commercial, small scale, as well as residential. And they're mostly in historic areas where other things have been converted over the years.
That's an historic district?
Well, it's not a historic district. It just has buildings that are old.
Yeah, like a lot of buildings.
Like a lot of the city, correct. So
I know it's kind of near there.
yeah, that little overlay in that area has a mix of both residential as well as commercial uses. So
Okay.
the use is has been approved, but it's the configuration based on the setbacks because the structure was originally built as an accessory structure, which does not have the same setback requirements.
Okay, I know that. Okay, well, thank you.
Thanks, Lorraine. Cora?
I just want to say that I actually showed this property a couple months ago, and so I'm familiar with the interior and that backspace that you talked about. I think it's a really cool building, so it'd be nice to see something go in there. My question is, so the only patio space, is that on the ground level or is that on the second floor?
So there's actually going to be, we're proposing for two. One would be on the roof of the addition in the back, and then there's a small, I think it's like 60 square foot in the front, and that would be enough for like 6 people at a time to sit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very small and it's seasonal, obviously.
Yeah, it's shown on the floor plan in the application. It's drawings for the first and second floor.
I'm all set.
Holly?
Yes, I have 2 questions. Did you, as you were thinking of other options, did you think about other options besides a restaurant? Or how did you sort of settle on using the space specifically for that?
Brad, do you have that?
I guess the only thing I looked at it for was the use of a restaurant. So that's why we're looking to put the addition on the back in order to make it work for like a small scale boutique restaurant. And
yeah, I guess
I didn't really look into any other.
Let me jump in so we can have clarification. So Bradford, just to confirm for the board and for the public, you are a tenant, you're not the owner of the property, correct?
Correct. Yeah, I would be leasing the space with the intent.
So
yeah, that's to change it.
Yeah, so he's the business owner going in. So this is his business. He's just a tenant in the space. So just wanted to clarify for everybody on the board and any of the public listening in. Go ahead, Holly. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, that's okay. Can you sort of talk me through the parking a little bit? Because when I went back to get back out isn't real smooth in terms of sort of having a really, I don't know, I'm not good with lingo, but sort of turning radius to get back out of the property. Can you sort of talk us through what the parking situation would be, just so I understand a little bit better?
Yeah, so the parking situation, we went back and forth with the city planning commission on the parking, and we're actually going to be reducing the amount of required parking spaces so that there is enough turning radius for the cars. But we have an alternative parking plan where in the case where additional parking spots are going to be required or needed, the property across the street will lease us some extra parking spaces as needed. But in this area, we were basically thinking that a lot of the people that come to the restaurant will be people in the neighborhood that will be walking there or coming by bicycle. And we are also providing a bike rack for storage of bicycles as well.
I think there's one of the renderings has the new parking plan, if you can find it.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in here. So the parking configuration and the use have been very well vetted and approved by the City Planning Commission, not under the purview of the zoning board. I would advise the zoning board and the applicant to focus on impacts from the setbacks. So the purview tonight is to make sure that the setbacks that are listed on the front of the staff report are addressed in terms of the benefit to the applicant, what they obviously get a benefit out of getting these variances or they wouldn't be applying. And that benefit of them not meeting the setback, does it outweigh any potential detriments? So you'll want to get at any detriments to the surrounding community, surrounding properties, surrounding residents. I know there's public feedback that I'm going to read into the record that talks a lot about parking, but as I've said, a lot of that was already vetted through a public hearing. So just make sure to, and to the applicants, make sure you address any just what I said, any potential detriments regarding the setbacks, whether they're significant or not, whether they propose any environmental or physical challenges to the existing neighborhood. Those will be the things you'll want to talk about for this case.
Right. If I can speak on that, to what Matt is talking about, the back, I'm assuming everyone has been to the property, but there's a fence line that goes across the back and there's a parking lot. That's been a parking lot as far as I think anyone can remember. And I don't think there's any plans to change it from being a parking lot. And the parking lot is only used during the day. There's minimal activity in it after 5 o'clock. And they have their garbage cans from the adjacent building in the parking lot. And that's all that goes on behind the building. So it's not like there's a business or a building or anything that we're impeding by building closer to the lot line. So I think as far as changing, what happens with the adjacent properties, there shouldn't be any negative effects from what we are doing. And on the other side of the building is also parking. So there shouldn't be any issues. I mean, the building already goes up to where we're going to build to. So there should not be any issues, I think, in either direction.
I would just like to follow up on that.
Sure.
So in that back piece where your proposal, the setback would be about 4 feet between the back of the expansion and the end of the line there. What's going to be there? Is that grass? Is it going to be concrete? Is it going to be like what will that look like?
It's currently, I think, asphalt behind there. We may have the opportunity to change it slightly. I've spoke with the property owner about possibly putting like a better fence that goes along the back, because right now there's a kind of a decrepit chain link fence that's falling apart.
Yeah.
So like we're looking at trying to address that.
Okay.
Once everything gets approved.
Great. Thank you so much. That's it for me.
Okay.
Hey, thank you so much, Holly. Jim?
The side yard setback of 2 feet, that's the existing building, and the expansion, of course, would simply line up with that, so I don't see any problem with that. The back, of course, I was back there too and looked around. I don't see any neighbor being bothered by the small expansion. Thank you.
Thank you. David? David, I take your muteness as no questions.
Yes, my screen is frozen.
Oh, it's okay. We hear you.
Okay.
Thank you. And for me, Bradford, yeah, I think this is pretty awesome. And I'm not too worried. Obviously, there's no business. This isn't residential behind you. Got nothing but parking lot directly behind you in terms of the rear. the rear lot coverage and parking lot around you. This is a great use, I think, for this property. Really looking forward. I couldn't see really in the pictures what Adam is proposing for those inside finishes, but I'm excited to see. Hopefully, you guys really do something really nice. It wasn't in color. I saw a little picture, but
Hey, Tyrese,
yes.
I didn't get to ask questions.
Oh, Matt, my bad. I'll give. Let me finish giving my comments and I'll jump in. I'm sorry. See, that's why I should have stayed in my order. Just one quick question. What's the use of that building in front on the property? Just curious. I know
There it hasn't been used in I don't know how many years. I think it's
so
sat
it's vacant. It's vacant. Okay.
It's sat vacant since the current owner has purchased it, and before that, it was an actual carriage house that housed a carriage and horses. That was probably over 100 years ago.
You're talking about the front building, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about the front building. I was just curious what the front building use.
Oh, the front building's office space.
Okay, so it is. So that's daytime use as well.
Right. Yep.
Okay. Perfect. Matt, go right ahead. I apologize. What's your questions?
Okay, so I was just curious if there's just to get a better sense of the direction. Why is there an abnormal reasoning or a historic significance to that particular property? I'm just curious why a restaurant in a relatively tight area, tight unit, small space. I'm just wondering if there's a more to the story that we're not aware of as to the reasoning for that particular location.
As far as the location, I feel like it gives it a little bit of a mystique. And the other thing is with everything that's happened with COVID and all that sort of stuff, I felt like a smaller venue for a restaurant would be better for the public and make them feel more comfortable when you're going to a place where there's only going to be, a dozen or so people, as opposed to trying to go to a restaurant where there's going to be hundreds of people. So I thought it was a good fit for the way things are moving in the industry.
Gotcha. Okay. And my second question is in terms of refuse. I know that with a restaurant, there's going to be additional refuse, and I'm sure you guys have already thought through what that's going to look like. But I guess my question is there enough space to manage the refuse? We wouldn't want a situation where it accumulates and becomes an issue for the neighbors because of a smell or because of rodentia or any sort of
absolutely. We went through sorry to cut you off. We went through a lot with the previous hearing on what to do about the refuse, and we have an enclosed area that houses toters, and they can be picked up multiple times a week, so there isn't going to be a large issue with garbage. And we're actually using a company for the natural food waste, so like a compost company is going to come and take away any of the food waste, so it won't be mixed in with the regular garbage.
Gotcha. That's all I have.
Okay.
Well, that's a good thing.
Hey, thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. Bradford, Adam, thank you. Do we have any comment that came in after the staff report, Matt?
Yes, I need to read that into the record. There was one comment included in the staff report. Letter coming from Earl Gurrell and Dan Gurrell. It says, "Dear Zoning Board, we are writing as representatives of Gurrell Associates, owners of 233 Alexander Street, the office building adjacent to 235 to the south. In addition, we own the parking lot immediately to the west of 235 Alexander Street. In other words, the parking lot behind the proposed carriage house project. We have owned the entire footprint described above since 1965. To be clear, we want the best for the neighborhood of which we've been part of for 55 years. We've witnessed many changes over that time and recognize there is a need for improvements and progress. However, we do not believe the proposed project is the right fit for this location. It very well may be a great addition to the neighborhood, but our belief is that the carriage house can accommodate the proposed restaurant. Our opinion is that the carriage house would be much better suited for a residence, an office, or a hamburger stand type restaurant, but not for something the size and scope of the current proposal. We are opposed to the project for many reasons. We will enumerate below to substantiate our position. Parking, 235 Alexander Street sits on a very small lot with few parking spaces. The number of existing spaces is less than the city requires for this type of use. Apparently, the operator spoke to Buckingham Properties about renting some space across the street. Buckingham's letter states that they have the ability to lease up to 7 parking spots to Bradford Strine to use for his restaurant parking, but it does not appear there is any formal agreement as of yet. Excuse me. Even with the additional parking, we do not believe there is enough parking to satisfy the needs of the proposed operation. Our position is that it's more likely that any overflow parking will naturally end up in our parking lot before patrons venture across the street. This is even more likely to happen if there is no signage, etc. The parking on the proposed site is very tight and likely to have issues. It appears that drivers, particularly in the spots closer to the rear of the lot, are expected to do some very fancy maneuvering in a tight space and likely after having a couple of drinks. The lot is such where they would have to back out past the other parked cars around the proposed restaurant and over the pedestrian crosswalk before they would be pointing toward the exit driveway. The drawing of the lot also has a very unrealistic interpretation of where snow would be stored. The proposed drawings show seating for 61 people. The property does not have adequate parking to support even a fraction of that number of patrons, not to mention the restaurant staff. Even when you factor in the urban setting and that some may walk or bike to the location, it feels as if the parking will be lacking. It is also concerning from a fire code perspective, but we trust the city will review things from that viewpoint as well. Garbage totes. We are concerned about having restaurant garbage next door to our office building. Our dumpster contains office type garbage. The type of garbage generated by the proposed business has the potential to smell and attract rodents. We see it as a potential problem, particularly in the summertime. Restaurants always keep their refuse as far away from the public as possible. This is for good reason. On a postage stamp lot, wherever the totes are placed will have a negative effect on those in the immediate area. Noise. Having so much outside seating is bound to generate noise. The noise would include people talking, the clinking of utensils on plates, music, the bussing of tables, etc., etc. Because everything surrounding the deck is so open, the noise would travel. Impact on neighboring building tenants. The office building at 233 Alexander Street is used by a multitude of tenants and patrons. These range from individuals with mental and physical challenges to those seeking cosmetology services in a calm and relaxing environment, to those looking to improve their mental state through therapists. To permit the requested use of the project at 235 Alexander Street would result in a noisy and rowdy environment, which would create discomfort of the individuals using the office building. The city's own review requirements for special permit applications explains that in accordance with 120-192-B3A1, a special permit shall be approved only if evidence is presented which establishes that 1, the proposed project will not have an adverse effect upon adjacent property, nor will it interfere with the use of the neighboring properties. We stated above and have not seen evidence to the contrary. All the reasons that we believe both our office building next door as well as our parking lot to the rear will suffer an adverse effect and interfere with use as related to noise, rodents, dumpster, and theft of parking. The construction alone will adversely affect our use, particularly with a 0-foot setback. How will this new structure be constructed without affecting the use of our parking spaces? Will construction be done exclusively from the inside? Number 2, the city also states that the purpose of the overlay boutique district is to permit small-scale commercial uses that exist proximate to neighborhoods without adversely affecting the residential environment. We believe that a restaurant that seats 60+ patrons on a postage stamp lot far exceeds a small-scale use. In addition to owning 233 Alexander Street and the parking lot behind the proposed restaurant, we own 16 Lafayette Park, a 5-unit house across the parking lot from the proposed restaurant. We feel the restaurant will negatively affect the quiet enjoyment we assure our tenants that we do our best to maintain. We also stand by our belief that the garbage from the restaurant will attract rodents and create an unpleasant stench. Mr. Strine writes that the garbage will be kept in a secure location. It is hard to imagine that location will be secure from rodents and smell. In addition, Mr. Strine's statement does not specify how often the totes will be picked up. With food garbage, it doesn't take long to attract rodents and create a foul smell. We are also curious as to how deliveries will be made, as the proposed location has no rear access and there is no room on the property for these types of vehicles that are used for delivery. Our concern in this regard is the delivery trucks will potentially block our driveway, as the frontage of the proposed locations is relatively narrow. We are also concerned as to how these deliveries will have a negative impact on traffic. It appears this proposal has more waiver requests than requirements to which the proposed operator is willing to adhere. Shouldn't the city be focused on projects requesting the occasional waiver rather than a proposal built on waivers? This is a case of more exceptions than rules. Having rules in place doesn't make it a lot of sense if the city allows a workaround for every single one. In addition, the Planning Commission asked Mr. Strine to show evidence of neighborhood outreach. His only attempt along those lines was to have a brief conversation with the head of the neighborhood association on which we are on the fringe. He said they're not currently holding meetings, and didn't feel it appropriate to try to meet with anyone in person. Not once has he reached out to us, his most proximate neighbors, those who share 50% of his boundaries, who would be more directly affected than most and who expressed concerns of the Planning Commission hearings. In summary, we oppose the proposed project at 235 Alexander Street. In our opinion, the scope of the proposed project far surpasses an appropriate use of a tiny building on a tiny lot. We hope our neighbor is soon able to find a more suitable use for the beautiful carriage house, but strongly believe that the current proposal is not fitting. Again, that letter came from Earl Gorell and Dan Gorell. My apologies for reading so fast. I was attempting to keep it into the 3-minute mark as best as I could.
Thank you, Matt. We appreciate it. Adam or Bradford, you can rebut that. You'll have 5 minutes, but you don't have to. It's your decision.
I think we've covered most of the things we needed to. I think a lot of the things from that letter don't address what we're here for today. So,
all right, guys. Thank you so much. Looking forward to it. This is a really good project. We're gonna close case number 4. Best of luck to you guys.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we are going to go ahead and get started with case number 5. Case number 5 is an area variance request at 65-67 Thurston Road. The file is V-057-2021. The zoning district is R1 Low Density Residential District. The applicant this evening is the property owner, Gary Nestor. The purpose is to legalize the removal of a 2-story open front porch on the front of a 2-family dwelling, not meeting the residential building standards for porches. And we have the property owner with us tonight, Gary. Gary, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and the chair will swear you in.
Hello, Gary. How are you? Gary, are you with me?
Gary, if you click on the top right of your screen, there'll be a unmute button. It should be in white and blue.
And it looks like
I'm still on it, but I'm not on it.
it looks like Adam from case number 4 is still not unmuted. Yeah, he's muted now. There we go.
Yeah, he's them over. Give me 1 second here.
Go ahead. Gary, if you hear us, you have to unmute. We see you, but we can't hear you. So you'll have to unmute. I don't know if you're on a computer or on your cell phone.
I'm going to mute and go off video, and I'm going to just try to give him a call right now so we can get him on. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Are you gonna sing us the Jeopardy theme song there,
I
Tyree?
was, but then, I didn't know it. I didn't know it. So I kind of stopped and was like, oh, I don't really know it. So let me kind of,
Okay, I see.
if I knew it, I was like, oh, I'm gonna play myself right now. Oh, oh, hold on 1 second. Oh, my laptop is about to go dead. 1 second. Sorry.
Cora,
Yes.
when you announced, I think you announced that you're from the Northwest instead of the Northeast. Did you move?
So my office is in the Northeast, and it used to be my apartment. And then I moved to the Northwest, and I still have my office, but I had just been so used to saying Northeast. I've actually been over here for a while. And since I'm actually sitting outside in my home in the Northwest, I thought it would be a good time to switch it up.
Thank you.
How on earth did
Hey,
you
you guys
catch
hear me?
that?
Yes, Gary, we can
Oh
hear
my
you.
God. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Technology.
Give me 1 second. Yeah, sorry, my laptop was going dead. All right, Gary, let's swear you in and let's get started. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, one quick question before we get started. There was some concern from the board and from the public about the posting of your sign. Was your sign posted in the public right away that the public was able to view it? Your notice of this hearing tonight?
Yes, it was in the window at the bottom apartment and right in the front main window.
20 days ahead of the hearing?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. You got 15 minutes. Go right ahead. We just let you know we have thoroughly read the case and we're kind of up to speed on how you got here. So
Right.
hopefully we can kind of focus on next steps and not how we got here. So go right ahead, 15 minutes.
Well, listen, I don't need 15 minutes. I'm just going to summarize. Obviously, like you said, how I got here, there was a car accident and the guy lodged his van underneath my porch, destroying the bottom porch and also dislodging some of the supports for the upper porches. And to the fact that the upper porch lowered itself, I mean, I was, from my estimation, at least 18 inches to 2 feet. And then when the fire department put the supports, the temporary supports in on top of the snow, obviously when the snow melted, it even came down even more. When I examined the roof of the porches, they were separating from the house. And also the railings on the second level were starting to separate from the house. I was in constant contact with Angie Reyes, the code enforcement officer in that neighborhood. And, I was emailing back and forth, and she said I did not need a permit for the demolition. That would all be covered under the same permit as actually building the porch. With the dangerous nature of the porches and the way that they were coming away from the house and the amount of weight that was on those porches, I took the porches down. I don't regret that decision, especially since it's been 5 months since that day of the accident. There's so much weight on those porches with its own weight of its own roof. It was a tremendous amount of weight, just to be frank about it. I would not have been able to sleep at night knowing my tenants were living there with porches with temporary supports, holding that much weight up above their front porch. So I took the porches down. In my experience, and also according to my insurance adjuster, there was no saving those porches. I did hear you guys' comments or your questions at the beginning or at 5 o'clock, as far as about the finances of all this. And about my insurance. The gentleman that ran into my porch, he had Geico, but it was expired. It took them until the 17th of February to tell me that I had to go through my own insurance company. And the last time I talked to them, they were going to go after Geico because there was some confusion exactly when the guy's insurance had expired. But anyway, as far as there was questions about how much money that I got from insurance. I have $8,000 to work with. I have a $5,000 deductible, and they depreciated the porches, and whatever the reason was, that's the figure that they came up with. And I probably spent about $1,200 to $1,500 so far, just in different supplies and whatnot. So anyway, the point is, I don't mind contributing some money to this project. Obviously, with the insurance money that I have. And I always had the intentions of putting another porch on there, just to put the same porch up that is there now, or that was there, would be financially not possible. Again, maybe with some of the things I included in my summary about rent and things like that. If I was to say put a roof on this place, I would, I might raise everybody's rent $30 or $50 and just spread that cost over the next 15 years or whatever. But for these particular tenants, especially for something that they hadn't, it wasn't their fault. It wasn't my fault. It's just something that happened. I don't think it would be fair to put that kind of an increase, for some extravagant double-decker porch like the one that was there before. Matt had sent me what the 19th Ward Association had sent. I'm not sure if he's going to read that also, but there's pictures on there for the two porches that they deem as acceptable, and they're extremely close to the drawings that I did when I originally applied for my permit. The only thing is the roof line's different, but I mean, that's something I'm willing to compromise on. They also suggested I hire an architect. I'm willing to compromise on that as well. But yeah, I want this situation rectified. I want my tenants to be able to use the front door. And I just, whatever the decision is, as far as what size porch going forward, I'm willing to compromise. And I guess that's about it.
I'm gonna jump in here. I just want to jump in here again. So one of the things, aside from the finances, so this isn't a financial hardship case. We talked a little bit about this during the pre-meeting. I'm hoping the applicant submitted a proposal to basically legalize what was done after the removal of the two porches. So, the applicant, it'd be helpful to detail why the area variance standards allow you to leave that as is. You can go through those. I know they have them. If you want to go into a little bit more detail, you can. The other thing is the zoning code states that the board is supposed to grant the least relief possible, and lesser relief means granting somewhere between what you came for and actually denying the application outright. So in terms of vetting potential options, that would be somewhere between what you came here for and maybe changing the roof line, maybe doing a first floor porch, all the way up to putting it right back to where it is. So definitely have that conversation with the board members, but also just make sure to address those standards in terms of why the benefit to you tonight by leaving what you submitted outweighs any potential detriments to the community or not altering the existing character of that corridor right there.
I submitted pictures of other houses in the neighborhood that had the porch of the on the lower level with, I think it's at the end of these pictures of my actual house. But there's a lot of houses in the neighborhood, these houses here, that have a smaller profile porch with bay windows, where the bay window is actually accented. And then there's also a window above the roof line of the porch. I think those are more appealing for me. Obviously this is all new to me. But I would like to accent the bay windows the porch as next to the bay windows. And like I said, if we have to change the roof line, I'm totally willing to compromise on that to make it more architecturally pleasing, I guess would be the right terminology.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I think, and it's a good place to understand that. It's a good place to start knowing that what the 19th Ward Community Association sent over, that's a good starting place. Because as Matt discussed during deliberations, we want to make sure that we kind of hear where you're willing to go, and knowing that we're not here, knowing that we're here to make a decision. We want to make a decision that's what's best for the city and the community, but was also if you're saying in your hardship difficulty, what's also going to work for you. And tough thing is you submitted pictures for all single family homes, so it's kind of different when we're looking at a double. So
I think the first one was a double.
Okay. I don't like to go, but it's difficult when you're kind of looking at that. But let me start. Let the board ask some questions to you. You've already kind of give us that you're willing to kind of do something different, but let the board ask some questions. Why don't you go ahead, Jim, and start us off?
All right, what a way to wake up. What a disaster. And the thing is, since I asked a question about insurance, you had insurance, and to me I understand the $5,000 deductible, right, but the depreciation, to me, an insurance should replace what you had before. Obviously, they're not doing that. I can see why you're in the shape that you are. I'm glad you're willing to do something out there if you have to. Frankly, I don't have any questions.
Thanks, Jim. And Matt?
I'll say I was always curious how these types of situations happen where you have the second floor door that leads to nowhere. I've had that on a couple houses, but I guess this is kind of one of those scenarios. In that particular case, just to speak to the matter of the door, if you were granted the variance, would you be planning to replace the door with a window on the second floor?
Yes. Definitely put a window in the second floor above the roof line.
Okay, it looks like
Yep. I would make it even with the top of the windows and the bay window, and then obviously some kind of space between the roof and where the window started. I think on my plans I put 8 inches.
Okay.
But if I change the roof line, obviously that'll change.
All right. That's all I had.
Thanks, Matt. David?
No question.
Lorraine?
I just wanted to thank you for your flexibility, but I have one other question. Was anybody home when that car crashed into the porch?
They were both home at 5 a.m. They
Were they
released the
injured?
guy.
What?
The guy crashed with a minivan and couldn't open his doors. And supposedly, I mean, this is the story they told me, but I don't have any reason to doubt it. But they opened the back of the hatch, and the guy kind of escaped through the back of the hatch and then took off. He took off running.
Right.
But I can't believe the guy didn't get hurt. But
And the
Yes, he was
renters, the tenants didn't either?
no, thank God, it never hit the house. It just hit it woke him up. It sounded like a bomb went off, but it never actually hit the house. It was a couple boards short of actually hitting the house.
Okay,
Nobody
thank
got
you. Oops, I'm sorry. I'm just
no,
curious.
He detailed the story in the application. It was like on the second. So the story was very detailed. We appreciate it. It was a great play-by-play.
It didn't say whether anyone was injured or not, so that's why I asked him.
No, nobody was injured. Thank God.
Cora, go right ahead.
I'll just echo what a nightmare this is, and I'm glad no one is hurt. I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Holly, any questions?
No questions.
Yeah, and I don't have any questions. I would say that I really would, what the 19th Ward suggested, and Matt will read it. I think that would be a great compromise for you, because the look of this porch, what you're planning now, is really out of character with what's there in the neighborhood. I also live in the 19th Ward, and I kind of echo the sentiments of what they wrote. This is really out of character with what you're proposing with that slanted roof. So, I think it's a real good opportunity for you to really improve the property by showing the bay windows, but also by enhancing with a double porch. Have you already enclosed the interior door on the second floor?
Yeah.
Have you already reconfigured that and taken it and kind of done drywall inside or something? What have you done?
Yes, but it's not finished. It can be easily removed.
Okay.
Like I said, if I do put a window in
or if you put the door back in and put 2-story porch on.
I mean, that's yes, I didn't know about the rules as far as porches and 2-story porches in Rochester. I know they're protected. I would much prefer to go with the first
1-story. Yeah.
1-story with a window. It just seems dangerous. I know that, like I said, it's maybe it's my personal preference, but I
have you considered taking that porch, taking really the width of it kind of closer to those bay windows and kind of getting rid of that slanted roof? I mean, the slanted roof is definitely out of character with the neighborhood.
I got a story about the slanted roof.
Go ahead, tell it quickly.
I have 2 existing foyers on the porch, and I had plastic over them. And this is February, remember? And I basically created 2 water balloons on top of the 2 foyers. So I had the materials, I had the roofing materials. So one weekend I just roofed it, and it was just to protect it. I used most of the existing 2x8s that were already from the upper deck of the porch that was already there. But and then I figured I'd have to use the looking at it now, I would have to use those 2x8s anyway, so it's
Okay.
really not the big deal as far as me
Are
changing.
you performing the work yourself on the property?
I have a licensed contractor, Joe Geraci. He is a licensed, I don't know what the correct terminology, he is a Rochester certified licensed contractor, I guess. I got his name off the Rochester website.
No, I was just curious. And just curious, how many properties in the city do you own?
I mean, I own in the city, I own about 20 units. They're all single families and doubles in.
Okay, just curious. Yeah, so that'd be my suggestion, but we'll take it in deliberations and we'll discuss a bit more. I know, so Matt is going to read that 19th Ward letter into the record because it came in after the staff report went out. So I'll let Matt go ahead and read that letter since we're all set with questions. Go ahead, Matt.
Yep, so this letter comes from John DeMott on behalf of the 19th Ward Community Association Zoning Committee to the Zoning Board of Appeals regarding 6567 Thurston Road. Dear Zoning Board members, the 19th Ward Community Association, founded in 1965 to maintain a desirable, stable, integrated residential community for all, requests that the Zoning Board not legalize the removal of the front porches on the dwelling. Front porches are a defining characteristic for the majority of 19th Ward homes built between 1900 and 1930. More than simply an amenity for the residents, front porches serve as the residents' social connection to surrounding community. The porch connects residents with adjacent neighbors, passing pedestrians, and passing vehicles. Front porches are of such importance to the 19th Ward Community Association, celebrates their presence with an annual Porch Fest every August. We offer the following thoughts. Removing a front porch presents an undesirable change in the character of the home in the surrounding neighborhood. It looks out of place, bare, and cheap. Likewise, replacing a front porch with an inappropriate shed design just demeans its appearance and its importance. The replacement porch or porches must be designed by an architect to ensure not only appropriate appearance, but also sufficient structural integrity. We ask that this be made a condition for approval and that the final design be approved by the Director of Zoning. Construction should be completed within 1 year from approval. 2 possible concepts are suggested on the attached page, which I will show in a moment. Similar designs are seen throughout the city of Rochester. Please ensure your deliberation that the owner is required to design and construct new front porch or porches in character with the design of the existing home. This is again from the 19th Ward Community Association. And the page on your screen now is the second page of their letter, street view, showing residents using the porch, and then examples of 1- and 2-story porches designs that are appropriate for the existing home. If the 1-story design is used, it must retain the second floor window above the porch. And that is all of the public feedback that came in after the staff report.
Okay. Thank you so much. Did you want to rebut any of that testimony? You have 5 minutes if you wanted to, Gary, or we can close your case. We've taken a lot of information in. So it's your choice. What do you want to do there?
No, I agree with everything they said. Like I said, I would prefer picture number 1 if I had to choose between the 2 pictures.
Okay. All right, great. Thanks so much, Gary. Wish you the best of luck in getting this property back up to looking pretty great, especially here in my neighborhood. So we're excited to see it. So thanks so much, and we're on close case number 5.
All right, we will get started here with case number 6. Case number 6 is an area variance, file number V-058-2021. The addresses are 214 and 216 Central Park, as well as 37 Niagara Street. The zoning district is the Public Market Village District. The applicant is Nick Coulter of PCHO Housing Options, Inc., and the purpose is to convert an existing commercial building into a multifamily dwelling, not meeting certain dwelling unit conversion standards or certain off-street parking requirements. And there is a team of people here tonight. We have Andrew, we have Nicholas, we have Megan. And is that it, guys? There's 3 of you total?
That is correct.
Oh, okay. I thought there were more. I'm sorry. And David?
I have to recuse myself because I'm familiar with the project and I'm also working with PCHO project, so I have to recuse myself from it.
Okay, so David, you can turn your, you can stay on the call, just turn your video and your audio off, and the 3 applicants can get started, or the chair can swear them in.
Okay, great. So we've got Nicholas with us. Do you go by Nick or Nicholas? I can call you Nicholas if you want.
Nick is fine. That's
Nick, Andrew, and the young lady's name is
Megan.
Megan. Okay, guys, let's swear you in to get you going. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Yep.
Okay, guys, you got 15 minutes, and as we've kind of said previously, let's make sure that we kind of focus in on those variances and talk about those specifically, what you got. Let's address those, and we'll get on out of here. So go right ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much for allowing us to be here. Person-centered housing options was founded by myself and a colleague of mine, Chuck Albanese. I'm the CEO and co-founder. I'm a proud graduate of the School of the Arts and born and raised in the city's 10th ward. So I'm very proud to present this this project. The overall goal of the project is to provide safe, affordable, supportive, permanent housing to 15 individuals with a history of homelessness. This will be achieved with funding through the Empire State Supported Housing Initiative, Homeless Housing Assistance Program, historic tax credits, a NYSERDA grant, and a grant from the ESL Charitable Foundation, all of which we've acquired and have put in place. These are located at 216, 214 Central Park, and 37 Niagara Street, as you see in the application. And presently, the property is sitting vacant, is deteriorating, and this adaptive reuse of the property will provide a much-needed housing stock to a population that needs our love and our support. This project will offer robust and comprehensive support services using the Housing First model. And our project team is PCHO, so we're the owner and provider of services, home leasing, and BME Associates is our civil engineer. This site will provide a community space for regular meetings, staff offices, off-street parking, which is part of the variance, recreation, and will facilitate outside meetings, conferences, and activities. In a city where we personally, PCHO, is finding about 300 plus homeless on the streets annually, safe, accessible, community-based housing is essential for us to end homelessness in the city of Rochester. And I'll turn it over to talk a little bit more specifically about the variances with Andrew. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Yeah, my name is Andrew Spencer with BME Associates. We're very excited to be part of this project as well. And I'll speak to the three different variances that we are requesting. We are requesting a variance to reduce the access drive aisle to a parking area along the edge of the building. The parking area that is being proposed will have 5 parking spaces, and one of which will be an ADA accessible space. These spaces are to be utilized by visitors and also, and I'll call them employees. Nick might hurt me when I say that, but people associated with the group. We do not anticipate that any of the residents that would be coming to this facility would be driving cars and would need any type of parking. Please note, this is within the I'm blanking on the district now, the PMV, the Public Market Village District, and there is no requirement for parking per se, but we do want to provide the parking alongside the edge of the building for those individuals that are working at the facility as well as visitors to the facility. Provides a safe access point to the side of the building and to get vehicles off of the street. So they do not need to park on-street parking. The reason for this variance, quite honestly, is the configuration of the 2 lots, 214 and 216. The building is existing, and we only have 42 feet between the building. I'm sorry, I misspoke, I apologize. We only have 40.2 feet between the building and the next property line, which we're unable to put in a 18-foot length parking spot along with a 24-foot drive aisle. So we're looking for a reduction to a 20-foot drive aisle. We feel very strongly that is enough room for single parking spaces on one side of an access drive to be able to negotiate to get in and out of the access point to Central Park. The second variance that we are looking for is a variance regarding the lot size for a multifamily structure that has greater than 3 units within it. PCHO actually will be owning all 3 of these lots. As part of the submittal to the Planning Commission, they are undergoing an administrative subdivision of 214 and 216 to combine those into a single lot. The remaining lot, which is on Niagara Street, they would like to remain in the residential R2 district. The residents immediately to the north of this project site is within that R2 district. One of the reasons is don't want to go through a rezoning process through the city commission, trying to get this done with just taking these 2 properties and bringing them together. We're looking at a total site area of approximately 8,039 square feet, where 9,000 square feet is required. The third variance that we are requesting is a reduction in the individual unit sizes for a dwelling conversion. 500 square feet is the minimum for a studio, and 600 square feet is required for a single 1-bedroom unit. And I know that the board does have the breakout from both the zoning analysis as well as the site plan review. This is a facility which will be housing homeless individuals coming in off of the street. There's 2 parts to this. Number 1, a smaller unit size is actually preferred over a larger unit size for these individuals to bring them into a safe residential setting. Secondly, PCHO is trying to get as many units as possible to facilitate, the betterment of the overall community in the city of Rochester. The more units that they can provide, the more people that they can assist to try to get permanent housing. There's a wide range of some of the differences between the unit sizes, and much of that is due to some of the internal configurations of the building. This is a building that was constructed in 1920. It has sat vacant for a number of years now. But there is a staircase within the structure. There are existing windows on the structure that cannot be relocated because of the historic preservation criteria that they must meet. As much as Nick has done with obtaining all of the funding, we are also going through a historic preservation review of this structure. There are things that we can and cannot do to either the interior or the exterior. So HBT Architects has come up with a plan to facilitate, again, a number of units that is financially feasible and feasible within this space, while also keeping some of those historic elements within the building. I do want to just turn the board's attention to the letter dated May 17th from BME Associates, where we did outline the criteria in which this board must consider before coming to a decision on this. And we have identified a number of the factors here. It is an existing structure on an existing lot. There will be no change to the community per se from a building on a lot. There is an existing parking area, albeit it is gravel, but we are basically taking over a gravel parking area and placing an asphalt covered parking lot. Actually, one of the environmental benefits to this is we'll actually be controlling some of the stormwater on site and conducting that stormwater through some stormwater piping to connect into the combined sewers. So we'll actually have and limit the amount of runoff that's coming from that existing parking area today. I won't get into great detail with a lot of these because I think they've been explained relatively well in the letter. I will respond to any comments or questions the board may have. And I will also direct the board to some additional information that was forwarded through Matt, a letter dated June 11th, which gives a same type of breakdown to the third variance, which is the dwelling unit conversion variance. just kind of close on the fact that, person-centered housing is providing a residential solution to people suffering from the homelessness in the city of Rochester. Due to the condition that it's historic and we have to follow the historic preservation guidelines, there's a limit to what we can do with the interior of the structure, whereby kind of forcing us into corners and tighter corners with some of these units. As Nick did indicate, there is common space within the buildings. There's gathering spaces within the buildings. So residents have a place to share, converse, and interact with one another within the structure itself. But I think one of the other main components of this is, due to the building's historic character, due to the financial considerations of both the preservation accommodations that are being made, as well as getting enough units in here to, I think, successfully obtain the funding that the PCHO has gone through. It kind of forces a 15-unit structure to be financially feasible and desirable here in the city. Again, we did provide some further clarifications to the criteria that you must consider before making a decision. And Nick, if you have nothing further, I would love to kind of close this and allow the board to ask some questions.
Excellent job. Thank you, Andrew.
Let's see if they think so.
Thank you guys. Oh, come on, you know what we think. First, Nick, we got to know first, what was your talent at School of the Arts? What was your major?
Oh, okay. So I can't walk away without that. I was a theater tech major. I also acted, or was in drama, and that's about it. I was also on the East High football team.
Okay. I was a soda guy too. I was a drama major, so I know you got that monologue. If we want you.
Oh yeah, I'm a big fan of Lori Dewey.
Yes, we all
no
miss
longer
her.
with us. So.
Yes, I miss her dearly. She was a great friend of mine as well.
Thank you for bringing it up.
So let's get this kicked off. Let's start with Holly this time. Holly, why don't you start us off?
Okay, I just have one question. When you're talking about the tenants, so is this meant to be temporary, as you would help people sort of transition? Is that, I sort of got that from the subtext there. So I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, it is a little confusing because it is designated for homeless, although once they move in, it's a permanent residence. They will have a year lease and will be renewable annually. So it will not be temporary shelter or temporary housing. There are temporary housing units adjacent to this project, and I work very closely with that other project, but no, this will be permanent residence for individuals.
Okay, thank you. That's my only question.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Holly. That was the same question I had too. Cora.
Soda alum as well. So.
Oh yeah, Cora, I forgot. Cora, what was your talent? What was your major?
Visual arts, drama adjacent. All of my friends were drama, love techies. So
we got 3 soda grads here. So
I think you graduated with my brother.
Jamie?
Yes.
Yes. Close. I think we're here too.
Close, very close. Yeah.
Anyway, I just want to say
we're the 3 smartest people on the call, the most talented people on the call. No, I'm joking. Go ahead, Cora. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. No, I actually don't have any questions. I thought it was a great presentation. I like the project.
Thank you.
Lorene?
Yeah, so why would you have permanent homeless housing? Why wouldn't you try to get them into places that could accommodate that for them? Or what's the basis of the lease renewal?
So it's a little confusing.
I want to step in here real quick. We need to make sure we're not focusing on the occupants of the building.
I know, but I just have that question. I'm not focusing. I just have that one question.
Yeah, I know. I understand. The problem is we need to keep within the purview of what the rights of the zoning board are and not the occupants of the building. It's a matter of a legal matter, actually. So what I want to do is make sure that the 3 variances that are listed on the front of the staff report are the focus. So the benefit to the applicant, for example, he described the benefit to them regarding The square feet in the dwelling units are based on like the physical configuration of the property, the windows and things like that. So those will be the questions that you'll want to focus on.
So why are the units so small?
Andrew, did you want to answer that?
And why is there why do you have to have, why are they so small?
Well, I think it has a lot to do with the internal configuration of the structure itself. And again, from a fiscal side of things, based upon the funding that's being obtained by PCHO, a certain number of units need to be provided. And per all the pro forma that was done, the 15 units is the number that make it a successful project. If we were to make units larger, then we would actually lose some of those units.
Yeah, to provide proper services to folks that are coming off the streets and going into a permanent apartment where they have their own kitchen and their own bathroom and their own space and their own living area and can, live just like you and I do. Their space, although this is smaller than we would like because of the nature of the building and because of the program setup, we had to build the program to have fully staffed folks occupying the property 24/7. So in order to fund that, we had to do a minimum of 15 units. And originally, when we had started to work on the plan, we didn't realize that the historic preservation part of it would enclose or stop us from using parts of the building, which basically made the units smaller in order for us to maintain the 15 units. So these apartments are going to have the full luxuries and amenities that any apartment would have, but we have to maintain the 15 units, the office space, and the ability to have 24/7 staffing so that we can support the residents and support the community. I hope that's helpful.
Nick, this one is, and Andrew, this one's listed. This property is listed on the historic places, and you guys got money from the so it's kind of limited on what you guys can do while you're here for the variance with the sizes. So I actually think that sort of makes sense for folks who are familiar with those historic preservation dollars that are coming from the state.
But that's not what we're here for. We're just here not for historic preservation.
No, that's but the point is because of that is why they can't increase the unit size. I know that I clearly understand that.
I get it.
Yeah, but the statement that you said was irrelevant though. So let's move on to David. Go right ahead, David. Oh, David, excuse himself. Go ahead, Matt.
This was a very comprehensive presentation. I have no questions.
Thanks, Matt. Jim?
Where'd you come up with the name Cecilia's Place?
Oh, that's a great question. So not to go too long-winded, but before I became a social worker, I absolutely hated social work, didn't want to have anything to do with the field, and did not want to go into healthcare at all. I later on learned that my mother was ill with cancer, and I had to stop my job and take care of her for a number of months before she passed away. So in honor of her and in honor of the care that I gave her and the care that the community gave her, I am naming this place after her. Without her passing, I wouldn't have learned that I would be so good at social work and so good for the community. So I went head on into social work after she passed on, and I've been hitting the ground ever since. So it was because of her life and her death that I'm here today, and I wouldn't change it for the world. Thank you for asking that, Jim.
It doesn't have anything to do with the variances, though.
I have a
I'm
question.
just keeping on track here.
I have a question for Andrew, and that's you may have mentioned this and I may have missed it. The recessed parking on Niagara Street, is anything happening with that?
One of the things going through the planning commission review and the site plan review, they have requested that there's an apron, an access apron on Niagara Street that will be removed so that no access is provided to that northern lot. But those parking spaces will remain as they exist today.
Thank you.
Just a quick question. So for clarification on the lot area, is lot number, the lawn area, I think it's lot 3. That's included on the lot area we're considering tonight, correct or no?
That is not correct. We are subdividing the 2 lots that front on Central Park.
Okay.
So those 2 lots will be subdivided and they come up with that 8,000 square foot lot area. The lot that is on Niagara Street, we are leaving as the R2 single family district. No improvements will be incorporated with that lot.
Gotcha. So that lot is in the R2 district?
That is correct.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense. I was going to ask you the question on, making that lot area larger and kind of including that in the building, but that makes a lot of sense. That lot's in R2, not in the PMV. Okay. This is a great project. I have no additional questions. Matt, did there any comment come in after?
Yeah, they did. And actually, thank you, Tyrese, for bringing that up. You cannot combine up 2 parcels that are in different zoning districts. So in an effort to gain lot area, what's being presented tonight, they can't combine with 37A.
I just wanted to clarify. Yeah, it wasn't in the application, but it just was. Yeah.
Great question, though. There was one additional email, that came from Matthew Danker, property address listed 153 North Plymouth Avenue. It says, "Dear ZBA, please accept this note as strong support for granting this requested relief to this project. The 3 variances requested are minor in nature and should not impede such a much needed project. The 9,000 square foot lot area requirement in 120-76C is overly suburban and unnecessary at this location. The reduction in parking aisle from 24 feet as dictated in 120-173F to 20 feet will create only an inconvenience for the staff of the building and not materially alter the character of the neighborhood. Finally, the minimum unit sizes in 120-166A were surely designed to reduce the undesirable chopping up of houses rather than dictate any statutory minimum unit size for health and safety reasons. The fact that nearly everyone in this facility will be single further alleviates any issues. I look forward to this project receiving the requested variances and rehabbing a long, underloved building on a prominent corner in the city." Again, that came from and that concludes the public comments.
Thank you, Matt. And you guys, this was a great presentation, very detailed application. And we wish you the best luck with this project. So we're going to close your case.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time this evening.
Right, and the last case, to be heard this evening is case number 7. All right, case number 7 is an area variance request, file number V-059-2021. Property address is 29-31 Ontario Street, located in the R2 medium density residential district. The applicant is the project architect, Roger Langer. And the purpose is to convert existing non-residential floor area to a residential unit, not meeting certain dwelling unit conversion standards. And before we get started, do we have David back? I don't see him on here.
Did he drop off?
He might have dropped off, so we can, I can get in touch with him after this and then he can just not vote on this.
Okay. I know he said he was having computer problems.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, you can go ahead and get started.
Okay. Oh, David's back.
Oh, is he back? His ears were ringing. He heard us talking. Hey, David.
Okay, he's just on mute, but I think he can hear us. So Roger, how are you?
I am fabulous. Yourself?
Doing well. Let's get started. I'll swear you in and give the floor over to you. So do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, you've got 15 minutes, Roger. Go right ahead.
This will be brief. First of all, good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for hearing Greater Living Architecture's presentation for the present owner's case regarding the variance at 2931 Ontario Street. The current owners, FM Rock Properties LLC, bought the property about a year ago and engaged Greater Living Architecture to assist them in determining the best use of the vacant portion of the building. I would like to point out that these are local owners. Through the years, I've dealt with a bunch of people from out of town that come in, buy cheap Rochester property and try to do amazing things with them. And these are a local husband and wife team that operate a property maintenance company and a property management company, two separate companies. And so they're local people that are interested in the prosperity of the city of Rochester and are currently even in the process of trying to find property to open their a common office space for the two of them. They're leasing right now. And so I have been working with them to try to keep them within the city. And they seem like a great couple that really care about the residents of the city and would like to see it move forward. So they hired us to determine the best use for the property, and we recognize that the existing stock of commercial space within the immediate surroundings was highly underutilized. I mean, you can find vacancies everywhere. There's a bunch of operations that you really wouldn't want or propose to be the best use for property within the city. And so we quickly determined that what had been the former use of retail space was not the best use for that property. And so we did evaluate the property and determined that the best use for the owner and the neighborhood would be to convert the former retail space into a two-bedroom apartment unit. The size of the area, 874 square feet, conforms to the city's requirements for a two-bedroom apartment. And is outlined in the statement of difficulty. Other than demolition, which would be a waste of resources, there's no other beneficial use to the owner in the neighborhood other than the conversion from vacant and retail commercial space to the proposed two-bedroom apartment unit. It doesn't create any negative effects within the neighborhood. There are a lot of multifamily units within the area. It's one more parking space on the street. There are a lot of parking spaces on the street and never found it difficult to park there. So it seems like the best use for that portion of the existing building. It is a one-story piece, and the goal would be to convert it into a handicap accessible unit and create something that there is a scarcity of within the city limits. That's pretty much it.
Okay, let's see if everybody has some questions for you, Roger. So Jim, go right ahead.
No questions.
Thanks, Jim. Matt?
Sorry, no questions.
Thanks, Matt. David?
No question.
Lorene?
No question.
And Cora?
I don't have any questions.
And Holly?
Nope, makes sense to me. No questions.
Roger, I don't have any questions either. Tell your boss. I'll tell your boss you did a good job tonight.
Oh, thanks.
Did we have any additional feedback that came in, Matt?
No feedback for this case.
Okay, Roger, thank you so much. We're going to close this case.
All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much.
See ya.
All right, so at this point, I just need a minute to switch over. So if everyone, both Applicants still on the call, which I see most or all are, which is great. Just hang on this Zoom call right here. We're just going to take a minute and I'm going to restart with the deliberations. Unless anyone needs more time. Everyone
Yeah,
good to
can
go?
I take a quick bathroom break, just 2
Okay.
minutes?
Yeah, let's say, so I have 8:07, we'll come back at 8:10.